Yeah. Hi everyone. Hope you're okay and you're enjoying this nice afternoon, at least on my side. Today, I would like to share with you a few insights and practices that we have started here, and which actually helped us quite a lot to kind of get the benchmark on our whole design team department and see what works and what doesn't. So without further ado, I'll just kind of dive straight into it. So what we'll talk about today is the inception of the idea that was in my head, uh, how it was before we even started to think of implementing something like this, how we actually tackled the problem of the whole process of optimizing our design department and having some form of a skill map per each person. And finally, I'll go over the next steps that are in our plans and something that I think is required to do once you have those foundations laid out. But before we jump into it, just so you know who you're listening to, my name is Mislav. I'm currently head of design at Cinnamon, and I've been head of design for the past 14 months here. Previously, I worked for 6 years as a product designer. And let's say if I were to say my niche, my specialty in product design would be conducting UX research and setting foundations, which could be done through various workshops with clients and research market stuff like that. So where the whole idea of a skill map started? Well, it started more than 15 years ago. I don't know if you know or not, if you recognize this image. Basically, this is from Pro Evolution Soccer, PlayStation 2 game. And I used to play it a lot with my older brother. I mean, he would always kick my butt in this, but all in all, it was always fun. But something stayed with me. As you can see, the map in the top part of the screen, it shows few things. It shows the most important skills or areas that certain player is uh, is regarded in. It shows their strengths and weaknesses, but it also gives us a baseline to compare with other players. Why is it important? Because if you look at it as soccer players, it's not that different from having your designers on the team. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Everyone's better at something, while not that experienced in other areas. It helps us understand team competences. We can see how we can where we are strong, but also it can help us identify weak spots in our team. But most importantly, it can help us choose the best team for a job. So if you have a project that requires extensive research and then you have to do a spectacular UI in the end, you can combine few people from your team to do the work instead of having just one person do everything by themselves. So how it was before this whole initiative and the whole process started at Cinnamon. To do that, we have to go a bit back in time. I would go 5 years when I first joined Cinnamon. Back then, there was five designers on the team that amounted to 27% of the total company. We had zero team leads at that moment, and we had one head of design. But the process, something that wasn't so visible from the outside, is that we had zero documentation. Like nothing was written. We had zero documents. All the processes were kind of passed down, and like we all knew how to do something, for example a user flow, but it was not unified approach, it was not unified knowledge that was shared. And also we had zero seniority, so everyone was just a designer. This was a quote from our former HR manager when I was kind of getting to know her, and I was just kind of telling her about my work and the work that we do in the department. And she asked me like, okay, do you have seniors, juniors, stuff like that? I was like, yes and no. Like we don't have seniorities per se, but we played by the year if you know who's more experienced and who's less experienced. That was an issue for us because it was not easy to create their professional development plan to know where they can be, where they are at the moment, and stuff like that. Now in 2023, we have 20 people in the department, which amounts to 20% of our company. We have three team leads and still one head of design. But in the background, what happened in the past 5 years, we created the handbook, which is kind of a holy grail of our department. We have everything written out in detail, and basically the whole handbook kind of spans out and is extended to 35 plus documents that are linked within the handbook that explain the whole design process in detail, so everyone's on the same page, but also all the processes that happen internally, such as mentorship, face-to-face check-in, stuff like that. But also now we have a clear design letter which kind of showcases all the levels that we have within the department and what needs to be done to get to the next level. But we had almost everything, but one detail was basically missing. And that was, how can we actually help people? How do we help designers go from one seniority level to another? And specifically, how do we make it more personalized for them based on their current skills, based on where they want to be, what they want to work, what they want to specialize in, and stuff like that. This was something that was drew on a whiteboard as like a desirable outcome. We were hoping to achieve increased retention rate because as you show people that you invest your time and energy into their advancement and their progress, it actually will help them feel more valued and will feel more inclined to stay for a longer time because they can see the perspective and you can basically align your visions. Also, it would help us hire more precisely because we would shape the whole recruitment process based on the needs and wants of our department and based on the weak spots that we have. And of course, create individual professional plan for each and every designer that's in our department. So now the sweet part, how the whole process looked like. Step one was basically defining the stack. The stack is a list of skills that we deemed important for each designer to have within our department. Something that you always tackle first is the technical skills, the hard skills, as they say. But I would urge you and recommend to go beyond not just the technical skills, but look at let's say, people skills, soft skills, something that help them as people, not designers only. So this is how it looked. We had ability to plan, we had innovative, we had research, we had lean thinking, we had user focus, and then we had 30 plus more skills. I think in the end there was 40-ish skills, but on the slide I can only fit, I think, 30 or something like that. And that was too much. Like it's not easy to define all of these skills and also define all the levels of those skills, but also it's almost impossible to rate someone on all of these skills. So the next logical step in this whole process was to make a selection of the most important skills, of the skills that we want to create foundation with. And also, as you do create those, as you select those skills, as you hash them out, you will see certain patterns create certain groups being formed. So from this, we went to this. And from this, we went to this. What it all now happened is basically that you get three coherent groups of skills. The first one being technical, second one being supplementary, and the third one being culture. What is important here is that technical skills are strictly focused around the work they do as a designers. Supplementary skills is something that can be applied across the board. It's something that can be applied in sales team or marketing or development, anything that helps them do their job, but it's not tied to their skills they need to perform as a designer. So as you would have, for example, for supplementary skills, you would have mentoring, development knowledge, ability to learn quickly, having a business sense, communication, and time management. And the last pillar, the last group is culture, which was devised from our core values that we set 2 years ago, I think, at the design department, where we know what type of people we want to attract. We know what type of people we want to hire to be part of our department. So this is something that will help us kind of identify those skills, those traits in someone. So as we have now those three groups, something needs to be fine-tuned a bit. So here I had an issue with discovery, I had issue with research, prototyping, and interaction. Discovery was not, I would say it wasn't precise enough. It didn't give a sense of what it includes. Research was too broad subject. As you know, you have qualitative research, quantitative research, and those are quite different paths someone can take. So we had to kind of see what we can do about it. While on the other hand, prototyping and interaction for the work that we do seem too small items to be standalone. So in the end, we got to product discovery. We had quantitative and qualitative research as separate items, but then we merged interaction and prototyping into one. Supplementary skills stayed as they were originally formed, while the culture we added clearly communicates idea. Now, if you notice in the second column, the last second to last item is communication, while we have here clearly communicates idea. Basically, what we wanted to do with such difference, because the ability to communicate well with those around you, with sensitivity to timeliness, medium, brevity, and tone, especially when it comes to wild concepts that designers have in their head, something where you want to explain to a client, to your colleague, but it's very specifically tied to a design problem at hand. So we want to kind of divide that as something that it's ingrained in our culture to basically be able to always speak about your design ideas, your concepts, your thoughts around the issue at hand. So there now we have all three groups. In total, we had 20 skills. The step number 3 to how we can approach once you have defined your stack, once you have divided them into coherent groups, is basically do evaluation. And in the end, synthesize the results of your findings, of your of implementing that process into your team. Evaluation was done on few levels. The first one was self-evaluation, where we had like a 30-minute call with each designer where we asked them to evaluate themselves based on the skills. Each skill had 4 levels, from novice to advanced, and each level was explained in the same way. So we didn't have to create 80 explanations. We had to create 20 explanations for skills, so 1 explanation per skill, and also to add to that 4 explanations for each level. So we want to kind of unify that to not do the extra legwork, but also to make it more simple and more concise and more optimized to be implemented in other departments within the company. Then we had a team lead evaluation where I had to sit down with their team lead to kind of talk about their progress. Were they able to objectively assess themselves, or did they were they overconfident or underconfident about their skill set and stuff like that? And then basically do the same thing in 6 to 12 months. Even though it says 6 to 12 months here, I would suggest doing it in 12 months, because 6 months might not be enough time for someone to basically work that intensive on their skills. So once you have all of that mapped up, once you have your stack, your categories, and you've done your evaluation, this is what you get. You get a skill map. So this is a technical skills only at the moment, where you can see how different people have different shapes. As you know that the saying people come in all shapes and sizes, well, that is true. Something for us that's not important for us to have everyone being full circle, because that's not attainable, but and it's very, you put a lot of pressure on people to actually be able to cover a lot of ground. And you can see that some people excel at one area while having less experience or skill set in the other area, which is totally fine. But as I said in my first slides, you can easily identify strengths and weaknesses within your team. When it comes to supplementary skills, this is also something that you'll get as part of this process, is that you'll be able to see who's a good, who people rally around, who's a good mentor, who has a good business sense, understands the core business of the products easily, and can kind of help them on the business side as not only doing the design work. And finally, you have the culture skills. Let's call them skills. This is something that we actually expect to be at least 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4, because that's exactly the type of people that you wanted to have in your team in your first place. So this is something that once you have the whole selection process of hiring, once you understand that and see that someone might not fit in this map, let's call it like that, you might think more about hiring them, because how could they fit in your team? Will they fit in your team? If they don't fit that much, can you still work with them? And if so, what do you need to do to be able to work with them as you would work with others that are currently within your team? So once you do the evaluation and now you have to kind of synthesize the whole process and all the findings that you had, you get a cross section of the whole department. As we mentioned earlier, you get all the areas that you excel at as a department, as a team, but also you can see easily weaknesses of your team. Identifying weaknesses can help you achieve better hiring plan to reach it, but also it can help you create a revised hiring plan. Like you can easily then go back to the drawing board and kind of go over all the questions that you have in your technical interview. Even perhaps maybe if you have a design task that you can kind of adjust to find that specific skill in someone in your candidates that are currently in the pipeline. In the end, you get this. So this is the whole cross section per pillar, basically where you can easily see in the first map that interaction prototyping is something that we have, let's say in this example, one person excels at while the other two are not that experienced in it. So maybe we can it can help us bring those people to a 3 or to a 2 out of 4. But also something interesting as we integrated mentoring as a supplementary skill by pairing 2 people to kind of give them a chance to transfer their knowledge and experience in one skill where a mentor excels, they automatically increase their mentoring skills further. So it's not only about technical skills, but they also advance in their soft skills, their supplementary skills, as we have it here. So it's both in a communication, it's both in mentoring skills. So something that help us kind of increase skills across multiple dimensions. And once you have all of that, this is something that could be in your agenda for next steps. At least it was for us. Basically, you track individual progress across 12 months. You ask them like, where do they want to be in 12 months? What kind of shape they want to have in 12 months? And it can help you kind of give them more personalized development plan. It can help you have a retrospective on the hiring process, like are all the hires that we have in the past 12 months, were they good hires? If not, what should we change? How should we change it? And stuff. Basically work a lot of things around the whole skill map process. And as we mentioned in my previous slide, basically create mentoring pairs, which is something that we have implemented in the past 6 months, where regardless of someone's years of experience, so let's say someone has 2 years of experience as a product designer, they still excel at certain skill and they can still transfer their knowledge of that skill and experience to people who are maybe generally speaking more experienced than them, but did not have a chance to they weren't exposed to that skill to be able to learn it that quickly. So you can create mentorship pairs where people, regardless of their experience, can learn from each other and basically increase their knowledge in technical skills They can increase their experience with supplementary skills such as communication, mentorship, also time management. Because if you're a mentor, you need to manage your time properly and stuff like that. As a small takeaway from this presentation, identify strengths and weaknesses. It can help you give you a bird's eye view of where you are and help you give perspective on where you want to be. Because if you know your current situation and you know where you want to be in 12 months as a team, you can easily identify those weak spots and work on them and kind of fill in the holes and help you achieve more optimized team that you are leading. It will lead to more precise hiring because you would create a customized hiring plan based on the skill and the need that you're trying to find. It will increase retention rate because you will be able to create a personalized development plan for each and everyone based on their skill set they currently possess, combined with the skill set they want to have, and combined finally with a vision where you want your team or your department to be in the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months. And finally, I would say give more purpose and have a clear vision. Once you give a purpose to your team, they will be more comfortable coming to work. They'll be more comfortable being part of the team, being next to their teammates and feel like they belong where they are right now. And in the end, once you do know where your people want to be in 12 months, you will actually know where your whole department will be in 12 months. And that's about it for me today. Hope it was interesting. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, place a comment on Slack or here. I'll answer it as soon as I can. And that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mislav. That was really interesting. I found it kind of quite interesting how detailed you've managed to go into, like 20 or how many did you say in the end that you had done in different areas?
Excuse me, skills. Yeah, now
skills,
we have
yeah.
20 skills. 8 of them are technical, 6 supplementary, and 6 culture skills.
Excellent. So it's quite a bit of detail. And that actually leads us into the first question that Emerson has asked. Do you think this level breakdown HR usually try to apply is detrimental to the development of some professionals?
This is something that once I started doing that, I wasn't sure how to approach it in regards to collaboration with our HR team, because I didn't want to make it feel it was corporate thing. I didn't want to make it feel that it was something that board or anyone wanted to kind of imply on them. It was something that I wanted to showcase as our initiative within the department to create it that can help people upgrade their skills. As if you look at it on a high level as a process itself, which can be implemented through HR professionals, this is something that if you do it as optimize the whole process to make it more universal, to apply it across multiple departments, multiple teams, so you don't have to do all the legwork again and again and again. And this is something, as we have implemented in design, other departments kind of start to catch up on it. And so far, I have no idea at the moment how far along they came with it, but they know that they can always kind of contact me if they need any help with it, if they need any support from my end. And that's about it. Yeah. I honestly hope I was able to answer the question. I didn't see the question in writing, so
Yeah, I think the assumption in the question, the way I read it, is that HR was the driving factor behind
no,
this.
no,
Whereas I
no.
think what you're
This was
saying is that
purely our own initiative that happened within the department. Something we want to kind of show other people within the company what can be done with if you have such group of people that you lead, where they really want to work constantly on upgrading their skills, and it's not something that, as I said, like was imposed by HR or board members or anyone else. It was purely our own initiative to do it.
great. And I guess does that tie in with promotions and levels? Do you have a kind of a thing that it's you have to be at a minimum here or something like that. And isn't there always going to be an area where one or two people are just naturally not, it's not their area of
This
focus?
wasn't that much tied to a level of seniority per se, because that can be done much more easily if you're a product firm. So you know that everyone you're looking for in a product firm, let's say you have a design department, you have research department, then you know that you have dedicated kind of a skill set per department. Where you have diverse people working in an agency environment, it's not easy to tie certain skills to a levels, because as I've said, like you would have people who excel at one area but lack in the other area. And I don't want to be the person to say you have to learn this if you want to get promoted, because that person it's much more valuable to me as they are right now. If they keep increasing and working on the skills they want to work on and upgrading their experience in the skills that they currently have. So it's not something that I want to put them in a form of strict forms to have it as a mandatory thing to get promoted. Promotion happens strictly based on their performance and how they do their job. That's it.